Welcome to this installment of Walking in the Footsteps with Our Ancestors. It is our last morning in Saddleworth, and we are on the hunt for Grove House and Grove Cottages. So these properties belonged to my Reynolds ancestors. Jerry Reynolds was my fourth great-grandfather, and my second great-grandfather, Charles Fisher, was living with him in 1841, as well as my third great grand uncles and aunts, John Reynolds, Betty, Sarah, and Thomas. And they were living in a place called Thorns. My research could not tell me where Thorns was. So when we were there, I never got to see it. But I do know that later, after they left Thorns, they built Grove House and Grove Cottages, which are up the hill from this, and ran a mill up there called Grove Mill. Fast forward to yesterday, and I'm still trying to figure out where Thorns was, and I'm looking at the 1861 census, and it lists John Reynolds and all of his siblings, and he's listed as a woolen manufacturer and innkeeper. Then I looked back over to the location of where they were, and it says Thorns, but right above it, and I never noticed this before, it says Preston Arms. What's Preston Arms? So I went to my Saddleworth Pubs book that was written by Rob McGee that has all of the pubs in Saddleworth from that time. And that was where I found out about the Tunnel Inn Tavern and the Fishers. And sure enough, there it is. It said just off the modern Standage Road at a place called Carr, there's a dwelling called Preston House. For many years up to 1840, the property here was known as Thorns. And the tenants at the time of the 1841 census were a 38-year-old John Reynolds, a woolen weaver, and 69-year-old Jerry Reynolds, a cow doctor. Boom! A few years later, John Reynolds had acquired an alehouse license, and the Thorns estate was owned by Henry Preston. He called it the Preston Arms. So it's now called Preston House, and it is still there. I just didn't know where, but apparently we drove by it several times because I put a message in a Facebook group about Saddleworth asking if they knew where Preston House was, and a gentleman messaged me and said, "Yeah, we live in Preston House now. How can I help you?" So I told him the story, and it turns out that Preston House is indeed right on Standage Road, right off one of those hairpin turns that the GPS sent us. And it was right there, and it kept sending us by there several times, even though it didn't seem like we should be driving. So he sent me a copy of a document that actually lists all of the history of Thorns and of that house, and it has all of my relatives, including my second great-grandfather, John Fisher, who was the one who went to Australia. And it was an amazing find. And I'm so disappointed. He was lovely. I'm so disappointed that we didn't know this when we were there, because they probably would have let us in to view the house. There's an amazing history behind that house, by the way. If you want to Google Preston House, it's kind of notorious. So anyway, he invited me back anytime to come and check the place out. And I'm really sad that I missed it. But the fact that I feel like I have a better grasp on the area now, and that I understand it a little better now. And I feel connected to it a little more now. So I'm definitely going to go back. But this was a really great find. And from here, we're on our way to St. Chad's. So stay tuned. The truth is in your genes.